The real irony of Alanis Morissette's wonderful song, Ironic, is that most of what she lists are not ironies. Rain on your wedding day, good advice you didn't take, winning the lottery and dying the next day, a death row pardon 2 minutes too late, or a black fly on your Chardonnay. Sorry, Alanis, but these are not ironies. These are just examples of bad luck. An irony is not a twist of fate. It is something with an obvious meaning that is different from the underlying concept. You expect one thing to be true, but it turns out to be the opposite. I'm going to throw out for you to chew on what I consider the greatest irony in history, then provide a quiz that I hope will back up my view. The greatest irony is that in pre-modern times, with very few tools for understanding the natural world, humans were absolutely certain they understood right and wrong. In modern times, with a broad range of these tools and sciences, there was much less certainty that anything is clearly right or wrong. From a Christian perspective, this is the worst thing modernity has brought to the world. It has turned a world that knew what was right and wrong into one where the concepts are relative to cultures and beliefs. Christians are right. The modern world has not figured out what constitutes right and wrong. But at the same time, the absolutist view that Christians insist on doesn't work either. Cultures have changed. Murder is murder is murder? Well, not necessarily. Was the human sacrifice performed in Mayan culture murder? Was the burning of heretics in Christian culture murder? Soldiers killing soldiers in war might not be. But what about the civilians that actually make up the higher percentage of those killed in most wars? From the Decalogue, or Ten Commandments, stealing is even more problematic because it requires a firm definition of private property. As students of economics are aware, the definition of private property has changed numerous times throughout history. The labor theory of value works as an economic theory. It has much more difficulty when translated into a moral absolutism. And coveting your neighbor's belongings? It's unclear where capitalism would be without this desire. I have a quiz you can try in order to gauge how much you are willing to accept the validity of differing views. It is based on the old Ginger versus Mary Ann question from the Gilligan's Island TV show. Do you prefer the glamour and sexy feminine charms of Ginger, or the more simple girlishness of the cute Mary Ann? What is your vision of the make-believe West? Is Microsoft the great corporate leader that bought a small idea and turned it into the most important innovation of the last half-century? Or is it a company seeking monopoly and trashing everything in its wake? Is it an innovative leader or just a follower with a better distribution network? What is the better place to live? France, with its 35-hour work week, month-long vacations, its lead in nearly all social indicators, its low GDP growth and burdensome tax rates? Or the United States, with its high productivity, higher growth rates, more innovative marketplace, long work weeks, short vacations, wide income disparity, and low ranking in nearly all social indicators? Are you pro-Walmart or anti-Walmart? Is it the greatest success story of capitalism or the whale that swallows up everything in the name of growth and expansion? Do you miss the diversity, or is the convenience and pricing adequate compensation? Is this your biggest concern for the future? Or this? Has airplane manufacturer Airbus demonstrated that a government-corporate partnership can produce products every bit the equal of a company operating in a less restricted marketplace? Or has Boeing, which defined commercial air travel and innovation for half a century, demonstrated that low taxes and military contracts are sufficient government involvement for producing great products? They currently share the marketplace about 50-50. Is this one of the great art pieces of the 20th century? Do you feel anything special when viewing it versus, say, this? Are Americans of today burdening the future of their children with crushing deficits and social service programs they'll grow broke funding? Or does government neglect over the past quarter century mean passing forward a crumbling infrastructure, incoherent energy policy, uncertain job market, and little manufacturing capabilities? Can you be sure that the selections you made were the absolute correct ones? Can you see any validity in the opposing positions? In a trivial way, this is what modernity is all about. It's a big, diverse world. If you listen to people who try to paint everything in black and white, you'll find plenty of holes in their argument. And if you don't listen to them, finding right and wrong, true and false, may be impossible. On the other hand, if you need to find absolute answers to all your questions, maybe you should become a Catholic. The church will tell you everything you need and make it all right. And if you don't like that, you can always find a good old Baptist preacher. He doesn't need modernity. His entire world is explained in the book of Genesis and Revelation. He has it all figured out. Maybe some people are just not cut out to live in a world where tolerance and diversity are virtues.